You look pretty lean. Are you getting ready for a show?
I am, yes. I'm 6 weeks out today, actually. I'm gonna go to the Arnold Amateur, February 27th. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there just in attendance, but yeah,
Oh, so
maybe
awesome.
yeah, it'd be good to see you there. So, how long were you planning to do this show, Darnell?
So not very long, actually. So last year I did a couple of shows. I did the one here. I live in Maine, so I
Hmm.
did the show in April, and then I went to Junior USA's in May in South Carolina. And then my feedback was basically like just to add some density to my upper glute. So we did a very controlled off season, like very just focused on that. Stayed pretty lean in my off season this year versus like the year before I had put on quite a bit of weight in my off
Hmm.
season because I needed to kind of like grow all over in general. Um, so like right before, well, probably towards the end of summer, I had a conversation with my coach just trying to decide like what we wanted to do next because there was a piece of me that kind of wanted to go to nationals in December, but
Hmm.
the timing with just like life and everything else with my work and stuff like that wasn't lining up. So I was like, well, maybe we could do this. So yeah, so that's what made us decide to shoot for this one.
Yeah, it's tough, when you're competing because it's like it's not just the competition, right? It's like everything, it's all encompassing, like really takes control of your whole life. And if like anything is off, if like you said, if work is off or something else is off personally, you can really, just spoil your entire prep. So you kind of have to have like all the dominoes, in line to get it going. So,
Definitely. Yeah. And last year was a big year for me, in a lot of good ways too. Like I moved in with my significant other, um, started a new position at my job. So yeah, there was a lot going on in my personal life, but really glad that we kept things in check in my off season and put on some tissue. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we have on stage.
yeah. I mean, the Arnold is a good show to go to. I mean, one of the best shows you can really do as an amateur or pro. So, I mean, that's a good one to pick if you're going to pick anyone. So,
Yeah, I'm excited for just the experience alone. And I've definitely, I'm confident in what I'm bringing to stage. This is by far like my best package to date. So I feel like that's the biggest part about bodybuilding. Like, of course, everyone goes, they want to win.
mhm.
But you're always just trying to beat like your previous physique. And I feel like I've done that times 10. So no matter what happens, I'm just happy. And I think because I have that mindset at this point, like it's made this prep actually that much more enjoyable. Whereas
Mhm.
before I would get like caught up in my head or like, go out and unnecessarily like check out like who else is going to be there. And then you get
Mhm.
overthinking. And so this has by far been my favorite prep season, just feeling like I'm just really enjoying the journey and embracing the suck of it. Um, and I'm just really excited. So
Yeah. I was gonna ask you something. Oh, you said you were staying leaner this prep, or at least it was like in the off season you stay lean, is what you were saying. So why did you decide to do that as opposed to, just kind of bulk up a little bit more? Is it, well, I'll let you answer that. Mhm.
yeah, so this is my third competition season. So my first season was in 2022.
Mhm.
Um, and I was told like I pretty much had to grow all over. So we went into a good, decent off season. I put on weight. So for reference, at Junior USA's, I was 153 on show day. Um, they told me my conditioning was on point, just really just working on glute density. So we decided to keep things a little bit on the leaner side just because we knew we weren't like too far off, like everything
Mhm.
else kind of on point. So I wanted to kind of keep things in check so that when I did come time to diet again, it didn't feel like that much harder because in 2023 I got up to like almost 180 pounds, which I didn't even feel like fat or anything. Like
Mhm.
it was was like a healthy 180. And I am thankful the way I hold weight, I pretty much hold it evenly throughout my whole body. So it's not like I have like a gut or something like that. Like so kind of evenly distributed.
Yeah.
Um,
Just like a bigger version of yourself, but not
yeah,
that.
exactly. I was like just very curvy,
Mhm.
we say. And so, of course, when I dieted down for prep for Junior USA's and the main show last year, I cut down about 30 pounds, which most preps, I mean, that's a little on the high end. I think typically
Mhm.
it's like 20 to 25 pounds. Most people try to stay
Mhm.
in, depending on how much muscle you're trying to put on. But we did put on a significant amount of muscle from 2022 season to, no, excuse me. Yeah, 2022 to 2023. And then again from 23 to 24, there was a big difference. I can show you, I'll have to send you some before and afters.
Yeah. What do you attribute to the muscle gain? Did you lift like heavier? Was it the kind of foods that you were eating?
Yeah, my coach is awesome. So I've been with, he's a local coach here in Maine, Team Muscle Time. So I've been with him from the very beginning for 3.5 years.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of it is building that relationship with your coach and letting them learn your body and like spending enough time with them so that they can see like how you respond to certain foods and how many calories. And another big thing is like a lot of people fall off with their coach in their off season. So like they'll just reach out to their coach to prep, but I've stayed consistent even in my
Yeah.
off. I'm on a meal plan with my coach. So we were really able to push food quite significantly. And
Like
just
what were you eating? Just like an example of what kind of food you were eating.
so I mean, I eat a lot of the typical whole foods that most bodybuilders do. But 2023 into 2024, we got my calories close to 3,000 calories a day. You know, a lot of high protein.
Yeah.
I had some free meals each week, but typical, you know, beef, chicken, ground turkey, you know, just whole food sources of proteins. And then I eat like a lot of jasmine rice, a lot of
Yeah.
oats. Um, and then of course leaving room for some fun food, which again I definitely had my fair share of fun food because I got up to, like I said, about 180 pounds. So yeah, just really an intentional training. I have a really solid training program, and it's a lot of repetitiveness. Like there's
Mhm.
so much out there where people are always trying to like shock their muscle or
Mhm.
up, but it really comes down to bodybuilding is pretty boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how do you get results? And it's like I literally eat the same thing pretty much every day, and I literally do the same workouts and the same compound movements every single week, and that's really the only way to like true growth. Um, and then alongside, we were really trying to add size to my legs, of course, being wellness. So every week forever, I can't even tell you how long now, week after week, I've been going up and training with my coach. So it's an intentional leg day with him once a week. Um, so I know, sorry, I get passionate and talking. So I
No, no,
probably
go ahead.
went
I
on a
mean, that's why you're on a podcast, right? It's like this is the time to talk.
yeah. But yeah, I definitely attribute my growth to just the basics, like
Mhm.
putting in the hard work every single day, hitting the boxes, even in my off season, being on a meal plan, checking in with my coach every single week. Like there's no on and off
Yeah.
switch bodybuilding if you want to reach a certain goal. Um, and I do have big aspirations in the sport. There's definitely a part of me, I'm 35, so I'm officially able to compete in the Masters division this year. So I'm excited about that.
Mhm.
Um, I have aspirations, but I know that I can't do this forever. So I've had to be very intentional the last few years to see like what kind of moves I can make in bodybuilding.
Sure,
So
sure. I mean, I think you mentioned a couple of things that like I think really rings true and a lot of people don't think about. One is reaching out to your coach only in prep is, I think, is a huge mistake, because all your growth really happens during the off season. And if you kind of wing it and then try to grow into a show, it just never really works out. And if it does, if you do get some gains, you can, imagine how much more you would have gotten if you, stayed on it during the off season. And I see that a lot. A lot of people just fall off in the off season, and then they want to, really ramp it up during the prep. And that's just not a good way to do it. The other thing that you mentioned about being boring, I think if I hear someone say that their workouts are boring, I know they're doing it right, because
Mhm.
that's essentially what it is. It's consistency and repetitiveness, and a lot of that shock your muscle stuff. Not that I'm necessarily against it, but a lot of it is more for popular consumption, but it doesn't particularly, give you the best results. It's consistency, I feel like, always gives you better results than anything. So,
Yeah, and I definitely, I mean, there's something for everybody. Like,
mhm.
so I to give a little backstory. In my early 20s, I was overweight, just unhealthy. So I had my son when I was 15. Um, and then I kind of let myself go, like weight wise. I never used to be into training or anything like that. And then I got into like the beach body and like at home workouts. So I lost a bunch of weight doing those types of movements, like the exciting new programs and like um, shocking the muscle. Like I
Yeah,
used to be that girl.
yeah.
Um, but I learned quickly. I mean, I think there's a time and a place for it. If it's someone who's
Hmm.
just like general health, that's great. If you're trying to like lose some weight and you don't want to go to the gym, those programs are great. There's a place for them. But if you truly want to like build muscle and get this tone that all these women want, it's like I don't think there's a very big misunderstanding until you like put in the time to learn about it. Like what toning actually is it's building muscle. It's
Sure.
like and weightlifting is the best thing for that. You're not going to get bulky as a female. Like, I've worked 3 years at this and my legs are finally putting on some size. It's like, it doesn't, it's not a thing to be just become bulky.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I was bulky.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting, because it's like we're kind of in the fitness industry, and we don't really realize that how much, like, regular people that don't tend to work out have misconceptions about training. It's the bulky thing is a big one, and it still is. I thought it wasn't anymore, but it still is. A lot of women still believe that if they lift heavy, they will just just blow up all of a sudden, and yeah, it's funny to hear that, but they truly believe it. So, like, when you do speak to somebody, you kind of have to, like, you kind of have to help them understand, like, this is a totally wrong way of thinking about this concept.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying that you started talking about your background, but how did you get into competitive bodybuilding?
So I went through quite a bit of just life in 2019, 2020, like right around the whole crazy pandemic time. I was going through a divorce, so I was in a really bad situation with my
Mhm.
relationship. And so I needed like an outlet. And I started waitressing that summer. And one of my friends, who also worked with my coaches at the time, I saw her do a bikini competition. And so she referred me over to my coach, JR. And so I met them, like I said, about 3.5 years ago. This all went down. And I started doing it like as an outlet. And I wasn't even really wanting to like compete necessarily. I just wanted to like learn how to shape my body now that I had like lost the weight. I wanted to like build muscle.
Right.
So I took a heavy weightlifting class at a local place here. So I learned like how to deadlift. I bought some sessions with a personal trainer there, got in touch with my coach, and then I started working with him. He started giving me meal plans, macros. I started kind of diving into like learning about macros, how to track my food, how to hit my goals. And then we decided to do a show for the OCB. federation. And at the time, wellness wasn't in OCB yet.
Right.
Oops, sorry, my computer
Your
went
light
dark.
went out. Right.
um, and so I was originally going to compete in bikini. And we were literally like I felt like I was starving myself because I naturally have a little bit of a heftier bottom
Mm.
half. I used to do dance, I played soccer. So I've never been a tiny person,
Right.
especially in my legs. So right before the show started, or right before we like registered for show, they announced they were coming out with wellness. So then we started working towards wellness, and my body just started responding because we were feeding my body more, and
Yeah.
um, just doing what I was naturally built to do. So
Yeah, I think wellness was a huge hit, as far as popularity, just because there were so many girls that were restricting themselves to fit into, some of these divisions, and it just, they weren't really doing well, and but they had no other outlet, and now then when wellness came, it allowed those girls to flourish. And then of course, like in other countries, they already had wellness. It just wasn't in the IFBB. So that brought, more people into it as well. I thought it was a great decision. What do you think about, just to kind of pivot a little bit? We have this new division. Have you heard about it? It's like Fit Model Division. Like, what do you think about that? Like, pro, against, just ideas in general.
So I think it's great. I think
Mhm.
that there's a lot of like, especially younger females who
Mhm.
are wanting to, who aspire to be like Laura Lee or Jen Dory or, one of those big bikini um, people.
Mhm.
And they just, it's going to take time to build the muscle. So, in my opinion, I think it's an awesome place for like someone starting out in the sport to like kind of dip their toe
Right.
and like it. Because you figure it's a little bit less more coverage on the bottoms of the suits. There's no bling, so they're a little less expensive. Um, just the criteria from what I've heard is pretty attainable for
Mhm.
someone like just kind of getting into weightlifting to see if they like it. Um, but also, in my opinion, I don't think I agree that you can go pro in it.
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I just feel like it's a good stepping stone into bikini. But
Mhm.
my own personal opinion, I don't know. It's just kind of strange to me that we're gonna have like a fit model Olympian next to a bikini Olympian. I just feel like at that level, I just think that maybe it could just be like I said, a stepping stone to work
Y-
toward bikini.
So originally, I thought that that's what it was. Did you hear something different? Maybe you know a little bit more than I do about it. Are they going to have a pro division for this?
They are, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, was just listening to. I listened to a ton of podcasts throughout the day.
Hmm.
Um, One of my favorites is Bikini and the Brains. So
Hmm.
Adam Bonilla with Team Elite Physique, and they were talking about it today about how it's going to take probably a year or two to determine like, okay, who like they show Ashley Waltzer as the fit model like back in the day when she
Yeah.
first started. Like that's kind of like the picture now to like shoot for. But like to his point, it's going to take a couple years, a couple seasons to like who is going to be the first pro fit model? What does she look like? Um,
Right.
so, and to my understanding, there is going to be a pro level for it. And I just feel like I think it's great, like I said, for someone just coming into the sport to kind of see if they even like it. But at the same time, I feel like it should kind of just stop there.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I agree with you. And because I didn't know that they're gonna have a pro division, that kind of changes my viewpoint on it. Because originally I did think that maybe this was good because it has a low barrier to entry. It kind of gives people like an idea of what they're gonna get into, and then they can progress from there. But now that this really changes everything, because at this point, well, first of all, like so if their criteria is going to be like an entry level criteria, right? Just for the physique in general, what are they progressing to? So like
That's the point. Yeah.
right, what would be the difference between your amateurs and your pros? if you don't want them to have any kind of progression, otherwise they're going to go into bikini class basically.
Yes, I
So,
totally, because it's like I listened to Tyler Mannion's criteria about it. Like, it's a quite a from what I understand, again, it's like a quite a bit softer look.
mhm.
Your point, how do you like there's no room to improve really other than stepping into the bikini division.
Yes, yeah, and that's my thoughts on it. I mean, you would just have an amateur that comes in, looks a certain way, they like the look, then they become pro with the same look, then they compete in Olympia with the same look, then next year they come in with the same look. So it's like, what's like what else is going to happen there? And any type of muscle growth that they're going to have will kick them out of the division, put them into bikini. So. Um, I think probably those girls will eventually jump into bikini, whether it's pro or not, yeah,
Mm.
whether it's pro or not. But it just, at this point, like it kind of seems pointless other than just strictly like a business move, which, any
Yes,
more divisions you have, the more business you have. That's just, I mean, they could ha add 100 different divisions. They're going to continue to make, good money off of those divisions. So,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think the other thing they had said was you can't cross over. So,
yes, originally that's what I heard too.
yeah. So, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know
so how?
how it goes.
s- y- Wait a minute. So you can't cross. Oh, so once you lock in into this division, you can't leave it and go to somewhere else, like another, like, or
So,
how does that work?
so I think when what it means is like, because a lot of times now, sometimes girls are like, well, I don't know if I'm better in bikini or if I'm better in wellness.
I
So
see.
compete in both divisions and then see
Hmm.
how, or like someone might try wellness and figure. Um, but if you are signing up or registering for Fit Model, you can only compete in Fit Model. You can't cross over and also
I
try.
see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I get that, but I would have left it as an amateur, amateur division. And plus, the money that you would get from them would be mostly in the amateurs because the amateurs are the ones that, like dish out a lot of times the money to compete.
Mhm.
That's where the promoters make most of their money is with the amateurs, and it allows them to host like pro shows later and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. On the subject of divisions in your division, do you think girls are getting bigger, or do you think they're judging, correctly? Like different people have different, views on it. I've talked to some that just think the top level girls are fine, but then, in the amateur shows or in the local regional levels, the girls are getting kind of big.
Yeah, it's tough. I like so I feel like they're getting a little bit better with the judging criteria, but it's also like can be very confusing, which makes it is like it's a very subjective sport. I understand that, but like there are definitely girls I feel that I don't personally want to get that big, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I do see that at some of the shows that I've been watching, they are not awarding like bigger is not always better. So that's kind of nice to see. I feel like when you look at like the top, Issa and Francielle, their physiques are not like too much, in my opinion.
Hmm.
I think they're beautiful and they fit the wellness criteria perfectly. Obviously, they're the top in the world. Um, but I do feel like at the amateur level, it's very tough because like even if you look at the overall winners from Junior USA's to NPC Nats to Universe, the wellness winners are very varying in
Yeah.
size, shape. Um, and if that, so I think it is starting to come back the other way, which is nice to see because that's the other part that I'm thinking of. My biggest goal, of course, is to earn my pro card. That would be a dream come true. And I know I can do it one day. My day will come. But then it's like, well, how big do I want to get here? Or how much do I want to push? Like clearly
Right.
there's PEDs that come into play. There's a lot of not natural competitors out
Right.
there. That's just
Right.
how you know. Um, and then it's like, so then you take that into consideration, and it's like, well, yes, I want to earn my pro card, but do I really want to compete at the pro level? Because I know most likely most of these women are pushing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's tough. Like I said, and I reviewed the overall winners with my coach, like just kind of seeing like what are they looking for, and each show is just totally different, um,
Yeah.
and it's hard too because like for me at Junior USA's, my feedback was to add density to my glutes, but when you look at the lineup, and I mean, I'm definitely more aged muscle. I was literally next to like young girls in their 20s, and I'm 34 up there next to them. So I have quite a few more years of like just muscle maturity.
Hmm.
Um, but my glutes were like bigger overall, but yet I'm being told I need to add density to my glutes. So sometimes the feedback and the criteria can be very confusing. Um,
Yeah, and I kind of wonder like how seriously do you take some of the feedback? Because if you jump, if you or like if they tell you jump and you say how high on every feedback, it's like you can really, get yourself messed up. And so you really want to make sure that the feedback that you're taking and implementing into your training and nutrition and PDs and whatever is legitimate, is actually going to progress you in placings because I mean, it's a strange thing, and it's like there's a lot of judges there, and they'll say a lot of stuff. It's difficult to figure it out. You're right.
Yeah, and for me, in my personal experience from the growth that I had from 2022 to 2023 was significant.
Hmm.
Um, and then at that point, I felt like when I stepped off stage in 2023 and went back into an off season, the girls were just massive. So my goal that year was like, okay, I need to get bigger. So that's the year that I like got up to 180 pounds. We were pushing food, we were training really hard. I put on some decent size. And then it was like, again, bigger is not always better. And I
Right.
had great feedback aside, my posing was spot on, my conditioning was good, all of that. But that was also another reason why we kept my off season more controlled this year and not I didn't really need to put on size necessarily. We wanted to work on shapes and adding some glute density. Like I feel like that's everybody's feedback, no matter where you're competing. And it's
Hmm.
like you need more glutes. Like, okay, cool. You're gonna tell me that every year, I think. Um, so yeah, just keeping things tighter this season because I wanted to like keep it on the leaner side. And now I weigh less today, 6 weeks out, than I did on stage in May. So we're definitely bringing a way different look. And I think that a lot of it contributes to staying a little bit tighter in the off season and just really being intentional with like glute growth. And just keeping things a little bit on the lighter side. I think I only got up to about 15 pounds above stage weight. So I got up
Yeah.
to
Do
around
you
70 this year.
do you think that like well, bodybuilding a lot of times is an illusion. Do you think lower weight, leaner can sometimes present as being bigger too on stage?
Absolutely. Yep. And I think too, like I look at my pictures from Junior USA's and I had great shape and everything, but we could afford to lose some even muscle size like in my hamstrings and quads and just bring my legs in tighter.
Mhm.
And that would also help project my glutes out more. So that was kind of the idea this year is like really just keeping things tight, focusing on the glutes. And I mean, we're already seeing different shapes because that's literally just been our main focus.
Yeah.
My other feedback was to be careful not to grow my shoulders. I feel like my shoulders have always been super easy to grow. And I love shoulders. I used to hit them like so much before I even started
Same. Yeah.
it's like one of my favorite things to train still. So it kind of stinks that I never really touch them anymore. But it's really neat to see the progression in myself the last 3 years. Like you can just see them. I've just totally morphed, and it's
Hmm.
just cool, which is one thing I just really love about bodybuilding as a whole. It's like you can literally change your body. If you don't like
Right.
something, you can change it.
Yeah, and I think it's also awesome because you know you see immediately like in immediately relative terms, but like the changes that you're implementing, and then you also get to use what you've changed on a daily basis. So it's not like, you're playing basketball, you go on the court a few times or whatever. Your body is with you 24/7. So it's like, so you get to see that progression like all day long, and people notice it and things like that. So it's an exciting thing for sure.
It is, yeah, and it is. It's definitely an illusion, also, because like the leaner you get, the bigger you look. Your
Right.
muscle bigger just because you're literally like chiseling away the fat around the muscle belly.
Yeah.
Um, so it's cool too now that we're able to like I've gotten even leaner. It's like, okay, cool. I'm seeing new shapes now that we've been building on. And I think that's the other good thing about staying a little bit leaner in the off season. Like, of course, you have to eat and you have to grow depending on what your feedback was, but like you can put on some muscle even like at maintenance. Like you don't have to push food that
Yeah.
high. And I think that was my lesson I learned in my 2023 season is like it was cool. Like I said, I put on great size, and I think that helped me build a lot of my foundational muscle that year. Um, but I don't feel like I ever have to like push that hard again
Yeah.
and to see myself progress. And that's what I've learned this past year so far.
Yeah, I think there's really a threshold. I was just talking to a guy that came up to me at the gym, and he was asking about coaching, and so we got to talking about that and possibly me coaching him, and then we talked about bulking and everything like that, and I'm a big proponent of, like, I think there's a threshold of how much weight you need to add in the off season, and I think people go way overboard. It's I'm in the medical field, and I just use this example, might not be the best example, could get me in trouble, but I think of women that get pregnant, and they tell them there's a certain amount of weight that you need to add. You just have to. But then beyond that, it's unnecessary. But people, women use that as a reason to eat more and more. I feel
Mhm.
like bodybuilders are the same way. It's like, well, I need to gain muscle, so I need to, you need a certain amount, but you don't need that much.
Yeah.
And they just use that I need to build muscle excuse, just to eat as much as they possibly can. Most of that you're going to have to cut off, later on. So I just feel like it's useless. Stresses you out too.
Yeah, and it's like if you put on too much, body fat, then when you do come time to prep, it's like you have to focus on dropping the body fat, which
Yes.
eventually kind of eat into your muscle tissue that you've
Mhm.
built. So you're always chasing your last physique, um, instead of like progressing along, and keeping it in a healthy, you know,
Right.
reasonable
Yeah,
weight.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, but when people say, "Oh, my prep was so difficult," like I often wonder, I'm like, was it difficult because you put on too much weight in the off season, and now you have to work double the amount, to get
Mhm.
that off? I feel like a lot of times that's what it is because, I mean, yes, prep can be obviously hard, obviously has, a lot of difficulties with it because you're cutting down your food and all that, but can you imagine how much more difficult it would be if instead of cutting like 20 pounds, you had to cut 40. Instead of 40, you had to cut even more. Yeah, it would be hard on your body, hard on your organs, everything. So,
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it is. It's definitely hard on your body. Even for me, losing, I had about 30, 35. Like that was hard last year. And it
yeah.
got where I was like tired of dieting, So it's like then you get that mindset of like, oh my gosh, like so this like I know that's why this preps felt like so reasonable, and like I've actually enjoyed the process. Like don't get me wrong, I have moments when I'm hungry, but
Hmm.
it's not like it used to be because it's like the dieting phase has felt so much more manageable, and
Hmm.
my cardio is not crazy. My food's really not that super super low yet. And so it's, yeah, it's really cool. And I think it's just you learn every year. Like every prep is different. You become a little bit wiser. You
Fantastic.
grow as an athlete.
Mm.
Each year, every season, you just learn. It's all about learning, and yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just another cool piece about it.
Sorry, for some
No,
reason my microphone fell, which has not never happened before, but it definitely happened now. So
you're
we're gonna do this for now. I'm holding in front of me. Yeah, now for sure. That's it's just one of those things where like you really the easier you can make your prep, the better you'll look, the better you'll feel, and the more excited you'll be to go into the show and prepare the next time and the next time. It's like if you have a hard prep, I can't imagine mentally like how, you wouldn't really be excited to go through that again. So it's, kind of dampens your prosperity in the sport, especially if you're trying to get a pro card. So for sure.
Yeah, and it's like if you're having to lose weight in a very unsustainable way, you're not going to be able to sustain the weight loss. So it's
Yeah.
like these people that are having to do 2 hours of cardio and prep, you're not going to want to do that forever. And as soon as you step off stage and you reach your conditioning, the last thing you want to do is continue to do cardio. So you're going to put that body fat back on super fast. It just creates this very
Yeah.
unhealthy cycle.
Yeah. It's for sure. So, at this point you're going to the Arnold. What's the goal for the Arnold? Do you have like something in mind?
Honestly, I feel like I've already like reached my goal for the show because I truly like I've never felt more confident in how I'm looking. And I'm just I'm just excited. My goal is to like obviously bring my best, which I feel like I've already done, and we're not even ready yet,
Yeah.
so I still have time, and I'm already better than I was at show day last year. So I'm trying to keep my head there. Like of course, I'm a competitive person, so it would be really cool to, win my class even, uh,
Mm,
earn my pro card. Like, that's why everyone's going. Essentially,
right.
competitors are competing to earn their pro card, especially
Right.
going that level of a show. Um, but I would say in an effort to not put so much pressure on myself because I am very good at doing that. My goal this year was to just like have the best prep, bring my best package. And so I feel like at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I've already won. And I'm just very, very excited for the
Yeah.
experience.
I think that's a good way to look at it because you kind of take some of that pressure off of you, and then you can just compete and enjoy, and if you do very well, fantastic, but at least your goals, your personal goals, you've already met. That's why I was gonna say, you look like you could step on stage, now, and so you're still, so many weeks out. It's only gonna get better.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure, for sure. Well, I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Oh, yes, it was really awesome to talk with you.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you reaching out. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you again, hopefully at
Yeah.
some point, meeting
Yeah.
you. Like I'll meet you in a few weeks. And
Yeah, that would be exciting. Yeah, that would be exciting. I'd love to have you on later, after the show and kind of
yeah,
talk about it.
absolutely. That would be great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you have a good rest of the evening. Take
Yeah,
care.
you too.